stunning. Just, I mean, she's beautiful.
To figure out which 13 you wanted, because
all these vintage go to my channel. It's like, I'm gonna feel awkward, but I'm secretly gonna be happy that he's watching my
that he just released, or on a road trip.
Your outpouring of love and support, and he produced
So I was like, whoa, this
songs and
party
albums,
got crazy.
winning Grammys and whatnot.
Player in my bedroom,
A record
and listen to them, and I would put those albums on and listen to it. Unless it comes on the radio, it's releases.
Panoramic view of this glass.
I don't like to listen to words because I analog experience with music. I got like a record player, but we couldn't find a like them. I mean, yes, some people will do that. That's not before I landed on these guys. And here's the thing.
And it was super cool to.
We're tactile beings, right? We experience things with all the senses. So the fact that
what did you say though? I'm really self-conscious, and I started bringing those into my room and listening to those, and I'm like, this kind of sucks to me.
When I transferred all my CDs over to,
you notice new things because you've looked at, you've done this 100 times.
Sat there and
out for the band to play that he just has there, free, and
it makes you cry when you
I'm
think
getting
about
so
it.
choked up. I mean, yeah,
You can cancel it.
if you didn't, here's what they did. They would give you they make money, and it's, I did some searching about it.
But I've heard that,
yeah,
because there was some
immersing yourself in Don't Kill My Vibe, and that's good. That's a great song. We're coming into your ear holes, maybe your eye holes too. I mean, it's your prerogative
when you're talking about.
I look up the hill,
and they have one good song, and then the rest of the album sucks. I just write it before I finally like. But the other thing I remember from that era,
and it's just like a snapshot of what the music industry was like. Your brother was. I think it holds up, but
no, like it feels like he's like getting off. He gave you an album that you didn't have that meant something to me. Your
other dinos.
To the question of, is this disposable? It's like, this is not the relationship.
And then they ship you 12 Life when that was on Showtime. Man, Lamar. I mean, if you can listen.
I feel like it will influence the actual song Back in Black.
Yeah.
Got people over, and I don't want it to end. You know,
track, and it's like the wide experience.
Right. A weird moment. Now,
in other words, I'd make a calculated decision out of all the tapes that I can buy this month.
Like the happy medium.
Reading it, just pouring over.
And then it's like later.
The thing about Discovery, it was come into my room, I'm going to push
directly into their brain.
You could feel it, and you could feel guilty about it.
And you remember Jeremy Fisher, who lived down the street.
That's something that I got to pour over, like the liner notes or anything like that. Point, I'll get to meet Alicia, which will be freaking awesome.
Right.
Like the white stripes, and so it's, she's.
I mean, they've got like a link to their website in the description of the video, and I guess you can go there and look.
Every weekend, my mom would go shopping, but I didn't have money.
When I write, because I don't like to be manipulated. I also like to,
because of how readily available it is. It's like, I do feel like we used to had like the big piece of furniture that had the record player in it.
Well, so I think for me, to answer that,
but also
a sustainable business model. But I think that what you could do, as I talk about this, I'm actually going to,
and again, I'm going to put the tape in.
It's amazing. And literally like 2 or 3 years ago,
I meet the first guy, he comes around, he said, of their craft.
And when you're not doing that, you're enjoying music.
It's experience. You put this disc on there, and then it plays for a certain amount of time.
And we do want to let you know that starting with next albums into top tracks or latest releases, whatever, I get the Milk Carton Kids.
And he looked at me, and he kind of went back to it. I was like,
thousands of years, and so
is that the part that matters the most?
No. While he was here, you were gone.
Yeah, he was gone. I was gone for most of it.
So in some weird way, I think that
was good.
Has made music so much more prolific.
What was it called? It was the one before.
Too Legit to Quit was
than I used to.
Well, let's continue this conversation on a YouTube channel from Chill Hop Music.
Yeah, I think you did.
And I would and sometimes together we would just go down the combination
via phones and stream. You pay
its feelings out on the surface of the CD.
Yeah, and you're listening to "Hit Me, Baby." Let's just put that. She's liking that, and she's starting to, to be exposed to
Merle Haggard. And
we talked about eating hot peppers.
a solution. He was like, you take a couple of pieces of toilet paper and you
Their icon to subscribe.
Thanks for being your mythical best. Well, lo-fi hip hop is like amateur. It's amateur made. It's like this Bulldogs song, and that was it. Everybody brings their cousin
Mentality, because you got 8 to 12 years old. It all looks brand new, and it's a 3-story.
Google that.
Okay.
And if you do that,
I remember it's like
gondola.
It's like an elevator with a leash on it. It was just crazy to be along for the 45. Thing that he did was he got a job. It was intimidating.
It's like, how do you get to 13? I'm throwing AC. I just played that stuff over and over again, and of course, This was true all over the nation.
Yeah, I'm a big fan now. She's great. And recorded his album and stayed at my home.
Ever repeating the rabbit hole that I'm gonna.
A huge train elevator that connects the studio to you remember this?
Initial question. It's definitely become more disposable. I mean, my relationship with music, and this is something that
straight out of Compton.
This is
what?
Melancholy Americana. They would have been like, "Sir, please leave." But
if somebody gave it to you, or if your brother had, it's just does still play into that though, right?
Oh yeah. Because you can look at the album art and
search that on YouTube. There's some live performances.
And so I tweeted, "You're never gonna lose." And
it's It's on a way. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna thumb through Reddit. And Classic Rock's greatest hits section connected via Bluetooth to my speakers in my computer. For my birthday, and I'm like teaching Lando how to play it. But yeah,
lo-fi hip hop repair. Yeah. Great guy.
He should have won.
I mean, how did all the greatness get on that?
Because I can only buy one tape this month, basically.
It's 95 feet.
Any moment they want it, anywhere they are. Ever since we posted that. The dealing stuff. Well, again, I'm living back home.
We'll talk about that in a second. To Frankie
Valli,
I was listening to Weird Al. So
I think with this wide experience, it's a single
words, and then all of a sudden I started listening to words, and it was contraband.
Was in your pocket, and it was everywhere. It was contraband.
Mythical.store.
Other stuff. He also owns the 14th biggest yacht on the planet.
How big is that? 10 years old, and he's so. First of all, he's what
did Locke think about it?
Good guy.
To my branch.
He's a great guy.
Okay, I won't do that again.
Just the other day, I had somebody send me.
It looped. Have you heard stuff again and again?
No, I haven't. I don't know. I don't know where the end's now. And you're like,
I think there's some. I think there's a couple, but
it was technically.
Well, there were people who showed up at this recording studio and they had to deaths from Jurassic Park, which is like
that's a little distracting to drive.
A dead career path. Go to the store and you buy it. And for me as a kid,
your car, and you're making the choice and you're being intentional about what you're
was amazing. And it turns out that this was
like the case.
Just as
Tribe Called Quest has held up. Black Sheep,
like listen to CDs, so.
And at the time we had a sense.
It was an investment. I don't want to go into
really. You did though. And that many of your CDs. Now you think I'm bad? I remember when.
I'll tweet out the link to, and I took those stamps off. So like Cream and Eric.
Yeah,
right.
He needs to change 15 seconds in as to whether or not I'm going to continue.
They somehow worked it out to get an invitation to record his album at Ear Biscuits. I'm linked.
And I was on.
No, did you have? Got me into. Mm-hmm. She had those records.
Actually, if you were like me, I'm assuming that you didn't do this as often.
Go outside of the studio.
This has got to be true. Week's episode of Ear Biscuits, the video version, the requirements of owning something
you can skip around.
and I wasn't even. That's kind of my streaming service that I use. But what I'll do in order to find new music, of course he does,
and then
like a raccoon in bed, like studying or something. It's because you had invested in it.
Yeah,
because you.
It is equipped with 2 helicopters, a submarine.
Going to be available on Sunday on the Good Mythical Morning channel, not Saturday.
So music, and is it is it devalued in my own mind? Extension cord.
But he was like when he and we
say,
didn't
I got it.
like obviously there was no internet, but we didn't.
Now I don't. That's not what it stands for. It stands for sit there and you'd unfold those liner notes. The 13 CDs, you only bought one, but then maybe it was living vicariously through, in the wake of coming in second on The Voice, where Alicia
in middle, and so we don't know exactly what they called it.
Uh-huh.
I don't even remember the song at this point, but I'm sure that it's not the fight song. I said,
and when I come over to your house, I knew you had tapes, but
NWA. You know,
5 hours later when we leave the recording studio,
he is an incredible guy.
He's
like,
super cool, isn't he?
The new show
it's
called Let's Talk About That.
Time to do that. Or if you're driving in a car,
he was like, I'll take your tape and do.
Hey, how are you today? I'm like, I'm crap.
He turns on, he had like a big stereo, like the speak about things at 18 years old.
Britt and I are driving home, and you know, my phone.
Like then it was like, come into my bedroom, sit down.
Yeah, got Cool Mo D.
Cool Mo D. I specifically remember being introduced to Cool Mo D.
Hanging out with my friend Alicia Keys,
oh,
while my cousin Wilcha, in 1994, rock summer camp with a friend of hers, and they got her into the Beatles, and
I think You Can't Touch Me, which I'll get back to that in a second. But so,
and you would just sit there, and you would.
We're just talking about
genuine. He's
not
actually not cool in the right way that you're in. And the country music comedy.
I told you this. I mean, I texted you and Christy that over there, he's like obviously a little.
Follow him on the stuff.
Let me tell you a little something, which I already because it's like a character like sitting there in his bedroom, like on that album, on Back in Black. Get a lot of mileage out of that.
Yeah, we had that, and we had Experience.
To me, the Zaxby's. Is that because I could do that again tonight with any other combination?
There's a big sign thing. Hearing every person scream bloody murder death at the hands of. It's not.
Like if I hand you just got a record player.
And you would read the lyrics, and you read. Of course, I wanna go with you to this studio. I wanna see what it. So many aspects of society.
Right. Streaming. Because I was still just buying albums.
To their servers and kept. And I'm talking like that. He's got what it takes, man. He's a songwriter.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody has to do that, but I think the other thing that I trust
things where I'm like I start thinking back on some music that I got introduced to,
evolution of sound and of music is just making focus time for that. If you're a music lover, don't rob me to do. I'll go so far as to
music will be playing in my house. We eat dinner
and they would charge you for it until you're gonna experience it. Think that you're reading like a Rolling Stones glass walls. And once I got a record player,
right. There was the official song, like theme song that I introduced myself. Now, first of all,
that weekend experience access to any and everything at any, and I look around the corner. I'm like snooping around because I'm not doing.
Does anybody have any recommendations for instrumental music?
It's now occurring to me. I may have record time. It was played all the instruments. I mean, that's good.
I think you're kind of constantly moving away from that and trying to set some sort of target where if I'd say like
no,
this album doesn't work, so this artist doesn't work, and this is just. And I'm like,
and I look at him like as if, but there were keepers of the place. Oh, he's got.
Did you eat a chip? They're a little bit, non-committal. They've been out for a while. They've gotten multiple albums. But when I was doing my melancholy, in a way that it's effortless. I first heard this and that kind of thing, and we kind of go through it.
Yeah.
And I've done a couple of these. Thing you can do in the digital. Looked at it, made observations about like, oh, look at how Frankie Valli's like sitting.
That's a guy who's they recorded in this studio. They recorded a lot of that album. Companion to anything, it is the object of my affection. Music was so much about
Grant.
He's got memorabilia hanging everywhere because Paul Allen's a huge rockin'. So we're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk
with imminent loss. episode of Ear Biscuits. So I just wanted to, but at the same time, and there was a handful of things that they didn't already have in their cloud that I owned. That a studio
looking for ways to spend money.
The studio itself is over 10 music now. You know, I mean, my new standard is I've got to be
inside or whatever. It was like I would take all the songs about being alone, which is quite a blee. Unless we change,
you shouldn't be cool. He's not too cool for school.
It's not
18 years old.
It's the fact that he's 18.
Because it can always be there as a constant companion. You would discover other people related by just listening. Why don't you love me?
We're both, and this is to do with our age, I'm sure. But I always old farts who are reminiscing about how great.
You know, one of the greatest rap albums of the '90s, easily.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make
look
it
to the present, listen to it ahead of time. There were a few places all the music and making time.
Even some lo-fi stuff, which
I will say that I did not meet this man. He was I can't see. And then he like turned it for the next 15 minutes we watched.
You know,
in a
can I just say before you explain
to
the
record
story,
his album, Death in Jurassic Park together.
You and Egypt had a moment.
Yeah, and then
to your devices,
the paths of rhythm. Their full-time jobs were just to keep the place. The first one was a security guard who didn't have one. You know, I didn't have a newfangled. You hit fast forward, the special fast forward button. That of them looked like music magazines where they would like, and it was just new shows. Keys was his coach. She really believes, as do I.
And you know, Mark was like a year older than Paul was. I think Cole. And I also don't want music that has too much of an emotional.
Do you have Young MC and like the 2 tower speakers, like it just delivers.
Right.
You know, she delivered. Like everyone there was.
Look at you as you're experiencing this. I'm gonna check in with you,
which stands for not this. Found people that she thought was cool, that liked cool stuff. Mm-hmm. This is the one I'm gonna buy, and it's the one that I'm just gonna listen to again.
Place where we're gonna talk about the I'm not to dispose of, but it also was a little bit precious
everywhere. But
and that probably
because it doesn't sound anything like the rap, but
mile away from my
a lot. What? Because the
to new music.
Music has increased dramatically because of access. I mean, it's
for it, and then last time I tried to use it, the needle was broken, and so
founder of Microsoft, along with Bill Gates.
Yeah, he has a look. I told you this. Just question whether or not you have.
Well, I mean, there was 3 different days that I took him.
Seasons, that 4 Seasons album. Of course, they dressed. Yeah, you so quickly. Just even I think about like
album work with. On it, and you have it
through Tribe Called Quest,
New York, and track his vocals because they didn't have time for that. I mean, this guy went on to produce a lot of other things, including the television version.
With you, but
yeah,
you know,
don't not some
this a-hole. I don't know. It's weird. My room. So I would listen to those same albums over and over again. And
Apple came out with this thing, and it still exists. But my subscription, and I'm going to play it. And I did thousands of songs live.
It has a spare helicopter.
And a basketball court. He's great. He says, "Hey, Grant, nice to meet you." And I'm like, oh. You know, I think say a lot.
That's great.
And just hang out.
Grant's the quiet one.
Rap music on their tapes.
For a couple of days. And, of course, he was like all into the theory about how Drake was involved in all this.
Deep. It didn't. If
it's not listening,
I would just. You'd listen to
the.
Right.
He's Link's cousin. He's their clothes, and then you read everything on the back.
Net worth $25 billion. Recording studio environment for the first time that was like legit.
We're thinking, this guy, he must be into some weird. Put it into the top. Your mom had an album. I find an artist, and sometimes I feel like a little bit of money.
According to his wiki, he is the 43rd richest person in the world.
Oh, only 40. Now, I actually used my recently added. But think about how many people I pass by for different reasons.
He's got EPMD.
Yeah.
He's got as a part of the match process. I just observed that I think it is.
Things he stayed over into our house until it was like 11:30 at night, and then that's Ear Biscuits. That's the show that is happening right now.
I mean, that's what like my mom.
And so lot responding to me and just listen to a lonesome Merle Haggard song.
Encouragement.
I mean, it's not just that he's cool. I mean, experience when somebody just sends you a link to a song. But
I just wanted some chicken fingers.
But this was. Have we lost? So good, but it was more how easily I could just think of something. It was still an experience.
He pulled up.
He's something special. Now,
well, I don't think he considers you an adult. They recorded all it's a lot of work. You know, it's I mean,
right now at least.
Nope.
So the new show, the new Saturday, Young MC tapes. You knew
that must be a good one.
Yes.
And he took his video camera to work every day and documented his process of working at
music for writing. And I kind of qualified out of the family.
That is also my side of the family. So if you're trying the ride, and then to cap it off with, I was listening to that talk about a song.
And now
that is so I'm recommending something I haven't watched except the beginning of, and it was, and again that was just a year ago,
right?
That I was paying for that.
The center sticker, the first time we bought our own music. I want to go back even before. If you had some issues,
yeah, it is.
Something happened with Back in Black a few weeks, I'm sure, but I was doing some writing the other day. I think that setting it up.
I wasn't a playing
and
joke.
Then doing it as a
in my car, and it just started playing. They would send you this big. You had MC Hammer, and I felt like, who am I gonna side with? Stuff, but instead he pulled up those freaking hot chip videos.
And hearing my kids stream the latest Chance the Rapper release.
I believe that hip hop. My papa passed away, and I went home for the funeral, and I just want to say, experience half by half, just like a record, where you have to flip that tape over, unmatched by any other studio, except the Columbia House in
boombox is usually what they refer to. Good Mythical Morning. Click the playlist on the left,
and don't forget to click the circular
Country Road and put that album in. Put that. Music is playing. We've got a computer
and that was the experience. It was a forced pace.
He sounds like Drake. You're like, that's not good. But it was a record player. To be real steady-handed.
That have been the most.
Song has become more disposable. Yeah, this is a demand.
A new one.
I got to get this one.
And then that.
I'm out. I don't have an analog experience at all. The way things work, I can get any. No, we've done the shoe thing before. We're not doing it again.
Important in the list of world that we now live in. The first thing that our kids have, the white
guy is, he's in Los Angeles. He's still tactile. An album
at the mansion, and then lo and behold, there's a big thing coming down the hill.
I pay for streaming, but if I really like an artist, I buy their album. It's like, well, what's my point of reference? But
her husband, Swiss Beats, famous rap producer.
Heard the name.
So there's the deep experience we had is now.
It would be all the songs about being in love, and I would.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy.
Listen to the radio, but that was the first time that I took.
I met you, man.
No, I'm just saying I was agreeing.
Still saying I recognize that this artist made it recording facility.
Age.
Yeah.
So a few years older.
From it was the rest of his 414 feet. It's called Octopus. It passed to a few days, and the Beatles have been
same thing. As if I gave him an album.
I would play that, and I would valuable. So I don't.
And it still has immediately. I'm writing. That's a recurring nightmare of mine.
I'm a man, Anna.
Right now I have Apple Music. That's just because maybe we're separate.
Yeah.
It wasn't all one. Throwback was even better.
When I play jokes, it doesn't use. Hey, scratch that CD.
Well,
man.
I think I probably hasn't held up quite as much.
Yeah.
Third base doesn't hold up. That. I think
you won't hear it.
You put it into the top of the because you're true, and you'll get into that.
I hope he thought that was great.
No, he thought it was great
before I was allowed through the gate.
Okay.
And I get
a little bit distracting because everything would drop out except
trained to expect from certain.
Multiple people said, lo-fi, just the amount of music that is in my
told me. I mean, you go. I like the lined nature. Dub it, and then give it back to me.
And while you're listening to it, I can't listen. I thought it was supposed to
I gave a little plug to our channel,
Oh.
but then instead of
my computer years ago, and then they were matched on iTunes.
I mean, for myself, because it's too much work. But if I like an artist, so anyway, I go in. This place is videos, like the ones we didn't do, you know.
Physical thing, and this is kind of like the analog.
The first thing I listened to was this. So this was
incredibly observant. I mean,
Jay-Z, DMX.
You met Jay-Z and DMX?
No, he at City as a whole. Then you immerse your. Like if I really like Lord Huron, I'll go
down. Don't have to go back to Melancholy Americana. I may not go, but
eventually where you can description, and that's when
writing or typing. I can't remember what he's doing. And then this Dave.
Chris. Nice. I don't know why, but
cult to listen to. Yes, Cole had it.
And then
some music.
Been playing, and you know I don't play the Beatles
because many of you like us have kind of lived through this. I just remember thinking it wasn't like. I mean,
you know, they work so hard to make this thing, and you want to have this communal experience of just listening to it. Can detect when there's a gap in the audio, and that's the next song,
or like a radio, like an Apple radio station. If I heard out in 3D,
yeah, and mine was
chilling out. Britton came and had dinner with my family,
and just a side note, because I also haven't,
and just
It's the same thing as just our access to action at that moment, and my analyzation.
Right.
And I'll go.
Time, music is playing. Wake up in the morning. Version of your Biscuits on Sundays. There's a video. There's a freaking video every day on the channel. Leaves, and the first thing that my oldest son think about the girl that I had a crush on and was not. That dude died. It was difficult.
Artist
on one of the projects that we're working on. And anecdote about
I would have a sheet.
Hundreds of.
It would have
albums.
a sheet with like 12 blocks.
Because if you did not, I'm not interested.
So yeah.
And
okay. You made it. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody
to the recording sesh.
The name game. So I think, like you said, if you go all the way back.
Yeah. So. We tell the story often about.
Was like you look at
when I first got to know Jessie, and she would put one of her CDs in her car. I mean, it was like subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else.
From a place of having arguably free in there after he graduated. He got a job working at Columbia House. There was never a section at Sam Goody.
Our record is a 45. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And you have to change the speed for that. Not too long ago. By the time you hear this, it will have been
You basically wrote them and told them that you're canceling, and so they would charge you experience of being a fly on the wall, of watching with music.
That is a great guy.
Really, he really is. Super nice.
She likes Grant.
Yeah.
And he had a machine in his room.
It was a good button on the end of an amazing you would insert into a thing, and then
he just had that handful of records that I listened to all the
that I already owned in their cloud.
Right. It's so I mean I'm jumping all around the 90s, but
every month or every few weeks they would send you. It's kind of like Netflix.
This is about, but just being absolutely
and
mesmerized.
It was a thing. You know what? I still have those records. I have them in the console.
There's this
lickable stickers of albums. I want to
gondola?
It's like a gondola, except it's on a track.
A track. If you don't follow me, you don't know. That's your loss. I tweeted
one on the same guy's yacht. So artist intended on both sides, and then you would do. I mean, I some nights
that might happen, but ultimately, they made it
over
bit different. They're all together, but he's kind of nieces.
Thank you for that, by the way.
And I was
It's
against playlists. I mean, I mean, we did the thing and put it into the thing.
And I was like, oh, I'll get to meet.
You know, things change so quick.
You got even older, like my Nana and Papa. They had.
If I and I bought you a bunch of crazy albums, but if music isn't anything like it was in 1980,
they
made
it
very difficult to cancel.
Doing lots of good stuff now, but that was like the first pet project, and that nobody has, so that I can like a greatest hits with Mary Jane's Last Dance on there.
And things change of musical descriptors, and then I could do it again the next night.
Are they missing, or what's their story?
I think it's a play on. I was like, okay, I'm going to play you some 90s hip-hop. I ended up going buy my first album. But it's something, too, the way things are done now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the way it's become
today, I just love being on a fly on the all of my house. Greatest hits album, right?
That's how you learn how to play guitar.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Life. I have a desire to buy them on vinyl, just to own, just to have. But I think there are artists who are still crafting. Any of the greatest.
I mean, you're well acquainted with, like, you know, the cutting edge loaf
uploaded to. I had to decide. Okay, 12 CDs for the price of one, and what you would select the album, and you would is via streaming,
or is it not?
Or is it not? And these are there's a bunch of Sams.
If I had gone in out in front and a little bit to the side, and you just made observations about their hair, and that's
it's
surprising.
Great. It's great to have an idea of a celebrity. If you had that physical thing,
that Britain is our new favorite person. I mean, like,
yeah,
is it in your
it's
in
not
your
in my bedroom? It's in the living room.
Someone else was, hey, start feeling some of it not really working. It seems a little bit that that happened one time, and I never let it happen again.
You know, when I got A Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory, Paul Allen's house. Mm-hmm. Paul Allen is
music's always playing.
I came into the kitchen. I'm gonna loan you this object. You're gonna aggressive.
It made me think differently about Paul Hetrick. That's all, I just remember
his mansion, with instruments of the listening to that around the house or whatever.
As I did, be something that is gonna. Guy is
a little more out there.
My family never did. We play music.
Yeah,
myself.
I had a similar experience. We had
to the next, and it's actually become like my go-to writing music over the past couple of weeks.
Has trying to cut on me, it actually became a compliment. So thank you.
No, that part of the family tree. Just
13 CDs. This was the age of CDs.
And it wasn't easy with headphones. It was like a Walkman.
The one, they were all different kinds. And and I found when I was
an Alexa in the kitchen, and so
recording studio was this huge building, and then up the hill from
never once
to be there for it because the speakers are only there. Mm-hmm. You can't walk. 1994. And it's called The Target Shoots First. He had a whole bevy of songs, and then he met with Alicia.
And the other side.
I saw her recently. I have to encourage people to do is to adopt the discipline of.
You leave the CD out.
Scratch it?
Man.
That everything now is geared not there.
Of course it is.
That's so experience.
Now, do you have, are you at liberty to speak of this?
Because instinctive travels in
about it. I don't want it to be too emotional. Whatever. Thank you for all your suggestions.
For anything, and I actually paid to have Apple match everything one step further. I love doing that within the context of an album. You know, to get that, and I mean it's your loss or mine if we don't.
Just sending me a link on my phone, and then it was just like I'll get to that when I want to. No, that wasn't how it worked. But would never say that.
Play other artists. I'll just Egypt, who's like, I don't know. And, you know, she's simultaneously
here, but it's all about the same BPM. But we didn't even talk about just the technology, just being able to have multiple devices. Yeah, you know what? Okay, my yacht knowledge is incredibly
as of 2013
lacking. The hardware of humanity is the same as it has been for that episode. Follow the links in the description to
whatever that thing's called. And there's I'll try it. I'll definitely try it.
Stuff because version is going through
Just like
until it gets to that point on the tape where there's a curse word. This is just an internal bias that
yeah,
that
I don't build playlists going to
Watching
our
that
channel.
Another thing,
But the experience was that's as wide as it got. At their kids, Egypt and Genesis.
wow, for that.
Okay.
To the very first time I consumed music,
Indeed.
how bad was word of mouth because we didn't.
Oh, yeah. Trying to make this sexual. But
I just
a swimming pool, a music studio.
a spare helicopter world that can top that, and that's why people. And I'm like, I'm going to listen to this, and I'm going to tell my kids.
I could be wrong about that, but my favorite album when
At the Hetrick's house.
got a helicopter to get to the helicopter. That's how big the yacht is.
400 feet, man.
You gotta take. But I would listen to Low End Theory, and you
It's laid back, and it kind of just effortlessly flows from one thing.
overwrote the master.
But if you go all the way back to the beginning,
Experience it in a certain order that the and we were trained to an audience
to the entire album, and now I consider myself a fan of these guys, who, by the way, are
is state of the art amazing because he just threw so much. You would flip it over and you would listen to the other side.
and while you're, and he's just like a genuinely.
Most houses had the room. Now, do you ask, did I sign an NDA? The answer is not this.
Ear Biscuits T-shirt. Look at this.
Maybe we'll even look to the future.
Maybe we'll even look to the past.
Well, I already said we're
Good
gonna.
thing. And I'm sitting on the bed, and he turns on.
I got that because Cole had CDs for 1 cent, or it would be an ad for time, and you kind of have to. He's got to take
Somebody else.
Yeah. He went into the studio.
Can I tell you?
Bucks you want to spend on an album? You can't said this. The reason Britton came into town, he was
Appreciation.
man. So
This is what happens when you.
but I haven't had an opportunity to give you or you Ear Biscuits.
It's an Eagle Rock. Close by.
This is not. I was like, actually, I just said deep experience before. Now you have to have one inspired.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is like you got these set and wait. And funny thing is, I have an artifact of this time in my life.
In New York, and they went through and they picked out the ones they were going to do for his album, and it's like a very quick and
On the record, had like a Georgia Bulldog.
Freddie Feelgood. Let's see what Ray Stevens.
Oh,
Because I haven't said it on here. Right.
Is this person trying
Vibing
to
with me.
to give me
Of his like, it's almost like found.
and we sat down in Paul's bedroom for a piece of music that is on something physical, and somebody somewhere had a magazine. There's no I know that.
I mean,
being able to listen to music while you run, being able to listen to music while you're
like 9 months of pregnancy. Bam.
is somewhere kind of what you're doing, which is you've got
Because he didn't win, he's got a little bit more freedom to then cut this out. I gotta read about him here a little bit to get this stuff straight. But
like when what's his name?
I think that has to do with being able to hear so much.
Of the Georgia Bulldogs,
Really?
and the center
That these guys in New York,
looped animated video of. I think now it's like he would literally record his own beeps over the curse words.
so he was kind of house sitting for me and waiting to. Even how you view in anyone sitting, so to speak.
Well, and I think
So that's pretty cool.
There's a value. I like to listen to Tribe Called Quest. So the other day we were.
Can you please look at my channel?
He's like, but Grant, I'm Red. This week at the round table of
That
death,
I'm great,
heretofore known as Grant.
but my name is Link. And he's like,
Pretty,
all of this recording experience, rep it with that shirt.
that's probably evil. It was like so really good when this album is coming out, but I mean sometime in the fall.
Dirty thing where it's like over this week,
I'm writing, so I like thinking. Like, do you than my parents did? I think.
and now she's.
Listen to this. I remember being over. Mm-hmm.
It was, and let me. Tape. It automatically became more cool from this podunk. He's from Sanford.
No.
That he made. Hear and be inspired by.
Everybody else.
Don't do that, but it now takes a discipline that we were just be sitting in the control booth just watching them live because of being on The Voice for all these years.
Like 2 cassette players and the record player on top. But I'm talking before that.
And it would have tier, just the download of my experience is to me. I mean, do our kids lost, but in general,
Whoops.
it was now we got to actually you make
with the way that we would experience new music and
or lack of thought about things.
in the way that
fucking piece of furniture. But
jumping all over the place with like how this is held up E2 in my bedroom. It was just a familiarity with
which
that,
was a tape, right?
which was a cassette. Yeah, it was a cassette. It was
But later I'm scrolling on Reddit, you know, because I'm trying to stay out of
on that.
Okay.
But that's
It's that an amazing artist crafted. He made
thing and spent some time with it.
There's no cost.
So
Time,
with
money, the Vimeo of that like hour 20-minute documentary at a certain point, and you see what I'm saying.
name Extension. I don't know how do you say the guy's name that died recently. That was a
Ordering process too.
okay, you and see how you're processing this, and it's this. And I think sometimes we underestimate because you for saying it wrong.
I don't know.
That's how out of the loop I am.
It was a treasure hunt experience, and that I don't listen to it that much.
Subscribe to any magazines that had any of this information in
No.
it. It was that.
I mean, Bob. I first heard Bob Marley because you put that in your.
I find an out nowhere in North Carolina, and I could do like, top tracks or latest releases. And what I'll do is I'll
Talk about it
on this thing. Like she has let a cat work evens. Yeah, my parents somehow. Oh.
So Marilyn Monroe swimming around in Rock Hudson's pool.
Triple Extension. I'd probably been streaming third base, and I know I'm jump.
In terms of, but it was almost the whole system was built for and Columbia House is such a weird thing. It was up, and I'm like, I ain't paying for this. But a year ago, I'm like, me, I would never pay towards the opposite of that.
Yeah, well,
Cousin / chauffeur /
that. You can like we would mix Merle, and you would just be like the lonesome side and the love it.
One more time, and it's only just hit me.
And that happened. So,
bought was the Fat Boys.
I had the Fat Boys. Well, my brother had the Fat Boys. My brother had it. Must be once I started
Stuff. I didn't even know that what sampling was.
Right.
But you read about it
in a way that I do a bit of rap, but this is actually probably before Cole got into rap.
Have a desire to the albums, and you had to like all the songs. I'm sorry, but you it doesn't. But Freddie Feelgood, it actually wasn't that funny, but he
was like, you guys heard
this out. But Cole radiates off of
more than me.
More, even more than
ended up in
the way we listen to music has changed so much. What is it?
Listening to is, in fact, the other night I did this, and so we had him over for dinner, and I had my sister-in-law, and
and if you have a music lover in your life, send them this episode. Who are they? They're sampling from them, and spark yourself with the experience of going all the way. Music would come out. It wasn't something that just
completely surrounded by it. So while I do think that it's become disposable,
I would look at the cassette section
and you would see
the rap section, and I would buy it. I would demo recordings and stuff like that, which
went and paid for music.
Like not Apple Music, but I had this Apple.
Someone actually, it was just a record. You kind of make a decision. Who are buying
the audio. It could make it all seem more disposable, because, I'm kind of projecting onto more of. There was you can find footage of it by searching for,
and it wasn't being added to. It was like available to be listened to.
And that's the other part of it. I kind of like a headphone experience. I could hook up my headphones to it.
What if you carried it around?
It was an illicit object that you would by so many different people at any go.
Right. I've observed that. You think, oh well, just like in the Dead Americana deep dive, 10, 12
so
possible.
Like you ruined Back in Black for everybody for perpetuity.
Well, first of all,
my cousin Britton Buchanan.
That way you ended up telling that joke.
Yeah,
was great. Actually, you know what? The record itself. And then did the mixtape thing. It was usually like mixing one artist.
it's coming out the front, which you can buy at like vintage stores
Right.
now. Big. I mean, I would just go and look at the record bar. Well,
Yeah, I did.
and it was like, okay, I was on a class.
Quality because I should have him over for dinner.
You had a deep sense of obligation.
But the cousin.
But the classic rock kick, and so it was just like I just went through greatest hit.
The album cover itself, I would hold it, and I remember seeing that force and not have to go to we called it a jam box.
Yeah.
It was just a totally different relationship, and then
It was very like, again, it was part of the.
hit pause and then hit record and then hit unpause and go beep and then
Do it again, and you would see these like, I don't know how. Well, I still listen to it, but I do it so differently.
to go. That's me. That's you.
Room, so and it's not hooked up to the best speakers. And
I'm going to land on somebody, and I'll be like, "Oh,
something that grips you in like track one. Weird Al even worse. At the Housematic experience.
suggestions, kinds of things. Not only the music itself, but the device, the actual man
Lip sync it.
and walk around the room singing, voice, great songwriter, all those things, which instrumental music.
Records. But as far as tapes, the second tape I'm sampling.
When we were kids, in fact, so he talked about so many, and then we would get the ones that had.
He's got a warehouse. Britton told me that they told him would be the tape that you would listen to, and it was a deep experience.
If you're doing melancholy Americana, and he sounds a little bit
Dance Around, and we had the Pac-Man themes. Yeah, and our experience with music, listening to music,
looking at like when you got the light just right on her CD, so you could send 11, 12 different people. Most of them I haven't heard of, and then I'll land. But
I mean, it streams now, and streaming has changed everything. Things like the Beatles, and it's easy. It's just around. I mean,
you're totally right about that.
Right?
Well, my life in different environments. It's also live stream. There is
buy something.
Well, you would go to the ones where I want to find something. I want to find some like melancholy bite somebody in hip hop, and for your flow to sound exactly like somebody.
Beautiful, and then
Yes, are available.
A guy, filmmaker Chris, was this other guy, Young MC.
What a lot of people do is they say, well, I do want to buy this.
Yes. Roll nut. Yeah. He's like a big Jimi Hendrix fan. The your ears and
all about that. But first, we want to let you know that you can get the all new
U2's Raptors, and how has it changed my relationship?
The time.
Yeah.
Like when I go home tonight
to say, how did you get my phone? I was literally
quite a bit because it's like, oh yeah, you remember those guys, Milk Carton Kids, you found the other night? Listen to NWA, having no idea what any is while in the car.
Is mansion, like multiple buildings, and it was Rock Hudson.
Do something. I don't understand the business model at all. All I know is that,
hey, screw you. Non-disclosure agreement. Now,
sitting there and I'm like,
Apple Match. I'll way over my next 3 commutes.
Well,
I try to do that.
I think both of us are back to those guys. All hopefully. Play one, and I make a decision.
A thought of, I need to go back and listen to that album or that song. Or I remember
he's a big fan of rhythm.
No, that's right now. And I played them for the kids. I like the black with the white on.
Really into hip hop, and he listens so much profanity in this music, and our parents were upset that we were listening to it, but they never. I mean, there was about 12 albums that they had just for some reason remember.
Well, because even before we go back, because even just
you're working out when you're
in your lifestyle as a whole, like or you
set aside the fact that he is incredibly talented, incredible,
but if you listen to Good Kid, Man,
really heard it directly because you knew when they were coming up the stairs.
Is the 14th in the store and use like dirty old headphones that everybody's been putting on. But for us, it was
a relationship with music, because now not only It was you mentioned.
It's been a while. You right? Like envelope, and you would open that up.
I'll put a playlist on, or like Pandora.
No. So
that branch. I mean, it's very concentrated. It's so easy to accidentally perform at the talent show.
Yeah. Single focused as opposed to easy musicians collaborate with Britain to make this album
in revolution that's happening, right? It's well underway. Vinyl. Now, there is something to be said for, and this is some people's philosophy. For my philosophy
into it, and his friends. So Cole and Oliver would listen to guitars that just bring it for me
with cassette in and just sing at the top of our lungs. And sometimes I would just go by myself. Sometimes 2 seconds in, sometimes 50.
In awe of this place that we ended up going. And I'm like, at some point, turned into this new thing that Rhett's holding anything.
Yeah, you're not in any danger.
And
you gotta lift that record up. Oh, I apologize if that's
the fact that I'm now like a year later. I'm like, why would I want to keep my and the past?
Looking forward to that discussion. My cousin.
By the way, the Octopus Yacht, has it devalued what music there? And I was hanging out, over the band from The Voice. They had just listened to the demo versions of the songs, and then they would expect from more artists actually. You got to sit here and you got to make a decision to take. Dang.
Yeah, and this was just an experience that I was having. To those guys again, but there's something to that. They're
say, hey, I got something nobody's got, and it's actually good.
Highly Americana. Like, first of all, just the fact that I can think that
you've been posting everywhere was not parked outside of.
Because I remember being 18 years old. I remember the way that I thought. So, like, for instance, cassettes are coming back,
and in the room with the masters.
Not gonna lose that desire to have a tactile experience anywhere, and I'm completely.
And now it's infinite.
And so here's another just.
Michael Jackson, Al Green
is he's.
And for talking with us, like Rhett said, using hashtag #earbiscuits.
We'll bring you another biscuit next. I'm just consuming just high volumes of music.
Go to Lord Huron Radio, and then it'll and many tasteful purveyors of musical talent. Who they were of all of the. It's like inner sanctum.
And I'm going to control the volume.
It's a focus where you had that, or press play, and then you got to flip it over to.
It mixes. We're talking like SoundCloud type music.
Just an experience got for us back in the day.
But so he was pretty.
Genre that you picked for me, classic rock.
A music with the devices that are available.
Say thank you for that. And there was very much a sense of closure going back home. Documentaries. I love talking about the type of music stuff we're going to talk about.
We're doing that. I mean, you think about how intimately familiar you were with. Of course, lots of girls didn't respond to me, so it
was going to hang out with us for the week, and that's the week that I didn't buy music until. On it, it's kind of got a roadie vibe. If you want to feel like you're on a.
It was mostly like, okay, this game needs to innovate in some way, but
she's got more positivity than anybody I've ever experienced. The way it just like spent money and time.
It's like I've got to get through this because it makes it feel like it's worth it.
And the speaker, not an object. It's not. It was a Columbia House. They would have. Welcome to
what to have that level of experience.
And I guess I get thank you all so much for
all the skipping from that CD intact.
What if you accidentally at like a poignant point in our debrief conversation, they would send you another CD in the same play it for you, or
so.
I do think about this question.
Things. So,
dang, look at it.
Disposable.
Yeah, I mean with the, I think that
digital revolution.
No.
I can't believe.
Music artists here that
I did the house,
and it's you got to listen to all of it.
The transition into. And I've done some little.
Get inside, and I'm a little self-conscious because I just feel like a hanger-on. Well, it's like, what did he think about it?
Yeah, you're not giving.
My boy Britton.
Oh, like
okay, but what did
Nice is off
court? I got back just in time to have the experience that I'll tell you about.
Record player. So before, because I remember getting my first
Self in a cinema
album or an individual moment that I remember, and contrast this to the way things are today. And I'm not going to
information with the internet, all the music tracks, but then he's going to go to Alicia's studio and there's going to be some looking backwards to quiet and not version of This American Life, of their creative process. It's like, my mom has this album,
but if I've never,
no,
Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him.
Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him, which is before the You Can't Touch the,
kind of on my own. And for me, that was with a record, Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, of the album art and the title of the album. It was, like I said, for me, it wasn't this endless supply of records.
That was it.
The Milk Carton Kids. Okay, like it's one of those, like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about those guys. I'm off. I don't say I'm gonna take that song and put it into a playlist.
To watch more Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist on the right.
To watch more of our daily show.
Didn't go to like an island or something.
Yeah, right.
But he was like a pickpocket. Next thing I knew, he had my phone, and he's watching, you know? I mean, getting into rap music was, what have we gained?
What? But we have kind of, because what do we got on Saturday now? Sure, let's talk about that.
That the rate of come in, and Britton would play it live, his house, cover of the cassette, and you're like, all right, Cole's
and introduce him to it. And I was like,
yeah,
getting into.
Oh yeah, that was immediately.
Okay, that's one of the
obvious,
best.
But the
that's
other
one of the best instrumentals of all time.
I think it's all great now. I was in middle school.
But you got these little redneck white boys. Oh, let's start. Why don't?
If your brother had the
positive.
Yeah, I mean,
to that.
There's on.
I typically wear my AirPods when I do that. Okay. I can see, like, some of it is now.
I'm free to talk about this. There's not any problem. You would listen to the record, and I'm reminded now that I finally have a record player now that in the house with Jimmy, we had that guest room in the front that had the pool. There's probably pictures of that everywhere. At least that's what Chris, the keeper of the studio. Oh, there's an artist, and there's like
that's kind of what you were.
His cousin. I'm the cousin. 9 or 10 sits down next to me and starts scrolling footage-ish. Or just like very intimate, how great they are.
I mean, and the best in the world at that.
They play
all around you. I mean, it's just horrible.
But I mean, I think Fuji's. I get concerned
listening to, like, the combination of streaming, digital.
Focus on it, so it's not a
hashtag Ear Biscuits. We're gonna get involved in that conversation.
Your brother thinks is cool, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here in my room by myself, rebuilding the whole facade overlooking Beverly Hills.
Just remember thinking, this is.
We do the same thing.
It's just
and you know what? I can't.
All played one of the Apple radio stations.
Comedy, a musical comedy record from Ray Steve. The BMG music service, they just as good as bad. I'm just raising all the questions.
Well, what I was thinking and how
I know. I got to when I was thinking about BMG, I was thinking. But I mean, of course, I love the Beatles. You have to. But it's Lily who's somehow and eventually had the Nintendo. Well, it had a record player. And
they had the most of that tape too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if they had like 30, like so and so, it's like that's a good thing.
Motor Yachts by length, once, and then they would be like, "All right, let's go." It was a movie.
Are they gonna give this artist $12 just because I really like on Back in Black?
You music differently than we did because they're starting 12 empty blanks and then the one that you'd pay for, and it would be stamps. Like,
but at the same time, as a family, we do things that my seasons, like Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
Internet has drastically accelerated
for a lot of people out there. It just became a loyalty issue at that point. It's like, am I really listening?
No, but it was like,
I think there's actually
single of the name game.
Unlock says, it's like, and this is a 14-year-old. 14-year-olds don't issue these kind, and he had to take 4/7. There's a good iPod song where we kind of talked about in the distant future, people are just going to download song
type thing. So, thanks for sharing this episode. I'm bored a little bit.
Experience with that. There's nothing.
And the album art, they're melancholy. The Eagles would, and also Columbia House. It would be 8 C.
Oh, then we got to the Fugees. And she just floats right over.
Oh. Yeah. I was like, well, I ate a whole hot pepper, Swiss Beats, artist. for the funeral. But byproduct was he had live performance of Songs of Innocence. I think their latest album. If you time.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like height of the system. I'll get to that, but
if it's like woke.
He's woke.
I don't like to use the word, but he's incredibly woke. Yeah. Time, and it was either that or the radio until I was given the opportunity to.
I'll lay in bed with my headphones on
and go all the way with your headphones.
I'm gonna say it here. I can't quite remember. People's yeah
throwback.
And but the place was just crazy. And then finally,
subscribe to have the ability.
Oh, okay.
No, you weren't very responsive while you were traveling, which is okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not gonna. How they're making money, I don't understand the business model.
When I was looking for that, I found this documentary that I'm gonna watch.
Cut it off. What he did, he was like, "Well, I've got Alicia."
So that's how I'm enjoying.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes I would like slick my hair
Go
back
full Elvis
and do it. It is. And if it did loop, it's the kind of thing I probably wouldn't even notice.
It's that is very difficult to achieve, to connect dots. A helicopter from one end of the yacht to the other end to get on the other helicopter. You made some false assumptions, being that he's.
Yeah. Some of it's good, but then I can.
Just texted her actually.
No.
And she told me. No. And I'll listen.
I don't like to have them to be
I'll
too
listen
bulky.
to music. And I'll
as people who had bought one album at a time, maybe two on a really good because I don't remember. They were buying
Lionel Rich. It was
So at risk of sounding like a couple of
not super cool
player, and my collection of music was just my parents' old.
It looks like a resort, but it's just this private home.
Incredibly smart.
Okay, Zaxby's.
Oh, up at all. Like, you listen to Third Base.
Podunk, because my dad lives there.
I came in with no expectation.
Casting thing that's probably thing. It wasn't. It was like, oh, you've got the thing. I mean, it and how.
What else? Eating music. Was the way that the process of being introduced to. Then there was also
rich white band. What is that? And then I'm like, looking through my mom's record collection again, and I realized. But before we get into the whole music thing, it
skip easily, so it made it a little bit easier. Albums, because I would listen to the radio itself.
It's freaking crazy. Silently.
Backup vocals by Grant. And I didn't make any assumptions at all. I just came in.
I can say it's a long title on the band.
Yeah.
It was secret, and it was. You could touch it in my phone for me. So she went to a girl's.
Without doubt.
Sign NDAs.
But it's like one of my dreams. All the women that have rejected
footage, because I kind of skipped through it, of his like taking his camcorder to work every day.
Glad to, but it was
his phone. He started searching. I was like, he's gonna go to meet you. I'm like, oh gosh, I've already screwed up.
Yeah. You never recover. With
I tried to be really cool this weekend that I'm referring to.
Cheesy.
Right.
I tried Young MC at one point, and I was like, I cannot believe.
Grilled me.
Pick something up in my room.
So in the place,
and this is going to be true for many of you, because I currently don't have any the experience.
It's like I love watching music and then meet them, and it okay.
Well, and especially that, so because there.
And the second day, Alicia shows up in the middle of him recording, and
of everybody.
What I hear saying is it's become.
What is the small albums?
And like Kendrick, Freddie Feelgood's band with his mouth. It was like Bobby McFerrin.
They play 24/7.
But what's lo-fi?
Well, but like you're listening, and I'll go through 10 in the comments below if you're watching this on Twitter. If I listen to an artist, I have an iPhone, and so I end up doing a lot of Apple.
Walk anywhere you want.
Jeremy Fisher's beep, and he provided this as a service. It comes up, and it's just
or am I going to buy something that's a little?
Ultimately, what I'm getting at is whether it's walking home, walking into
when I'm in bed. Amazing, but it's different from a concert. It
was because I heard people say,
yeah, Clapton he exudes. She's got this like this.
When I think about I think about my kids and the way that. You mentioned, and then I'm like, okay. And I stuck with it, and I ended up listening.
I need to buy a cassette every weekend, but it was a very strategic thing. Like the previous one, And then listen to
While we kind of moved into this completely digital
Fly on the Wall.
He doesn't know anybody. Saturdays, followed by the all-new video
music guy, which is kind of crazy that one of the first things I listened to was because she seems like an amazing person.
Right.
And Britton said that she was.
Smallest section at Sam Ash.
I mean, as an artist, I can go up there and
lay down some tracks.
No, just watch. And
basically to the like Americana section, more music available
to it. Yeah, I'm definitely.
Bar is really high.
New one coming out. I'm gonna be the first to get that one. Somehow they've found something in this,
except
to make
pick
that.
up the pieces. Pick up the piece.
You just listen to it, and it was an album.
Black Sheep. I started just thinking of some stuff that was.
Oh, because
right.
So like I remember I would go in his room and I'd like see on stage. She's got average white band records.
Mm-hmm. Now I have the ability to
Jimi Hendrix Set on Fire, you know.
While you were gone,
yeah,
and Britton was in town, so much more prolific, at least for me. But
their house full of like all the guitars he's collected. If you can name like a really famous
records, and I remember some very specific things like the force other adults who are not 18 years old,
right?
And
there's a tremendous positive that the mechanism for discovery type ripoff.
Yeah.
But then you would
once you could just add the music locally.
You know the songs that sucked because you'd listen to those too.
I would sit there
have it, just to literally have it. I don't. It has everybody from U2 signed it. There's album oriented.
Whoa! It was
because that gas is burned out.
Yep.
Didn't go. Let's talk about that.
Yes, it's a shit.
My mom had a record, like a little.
Shout out to Red MC on Twitter. If you follow me, you know that I tweeted this. I think that's because ultimately we haven't changed. You know, physically, mentally, you gotta work it out of the sleeve. Set it on the. Heard Metallica.
Oh snap!
And I was like, "What's Metallica?"
Everybody's got to get that Eagles.
Lighting. We're going to be exploring the question: has music become just somebody at school would tell some
wall in that world? That's why those documentaries are so much fun for me to watch. But being there, it's like artists being able to. It's almost a guitar.
A very difficult.
And then the album was recorded at a very rich man's private. You go into the booth, or you go into the engineer in the cloud.
I don't think that's it could be. It could be one of many different women.
They were all there. Like a montage of all of the deaths in Jurassic Park.
Oh. And it's less about what he thought about it. He appreciated it. He thought some of it was good on the internet. I had one that was a check mark. It was like ordering sushi.
But maybe I should just be nostalgic. Maybe there's
great it was when we were introduced.
Oh, there is. But right now,
a place to put it, and then I didn't buy anything.
Not a video. It may not be a list.
It's so. And again, I don't know who's making this music. I don't know.
I mean, you know why artists have listening parties?
See all the scratches. It was like she let a cat get.
He was the neighborhood censor,
which made NW. I
mean, you can listen.
That's why people are kind of rebounding
going back.
And I had been listening to, when I wasn't listening.
It's actually become a more valuable mainstay. It was like tactile. It was a catalog and figuring this a lot of the liner notes. The average.
There's negative and there's
CDs at once.
CDs changed. I don't even remember what song it was.
Master of Puppets.
I do.
Yeah.
He walks out the door closes, and he's like, an individual
has gotten into the beat articles with like weird factoids about crap in them to make you tell them they can reminisce along with us. Maybe we'll trigger some memories. Probably owns it and just has it in a warehouse, including the guitar that a-hole
at all. But I definitely did not come in expecting him to be judging the experience, because they all wore the same exact thing, significantly physically.
We're not music in a cloud when I have access via streaming to all music. I knew that this album as a cohesive work, and so I'm actually and it's like
this week to hear this Ear Biscuit in its entirety and make sure you don't miss it at work for me. So I just recently discovered, and I'd heard of this band, Search lo-fi hip-hop 24.
It's still one of the fastest shifting genres.
Mostly, as I do. We used to enjoy it analogically.
Money at this thing. And then
The sleeve.
Rhett has the MC Hammer album. Got an EPMD tape. But this is they got an
EDC in there.
Yes!
It's, Back in Black, which I'm really glad I did.
Hey guys! Welcome! So, today I'm going to be reacting to Cookie Girl. Yeah. And, let's just get right into it. Okay? Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay. So there's a man staring at a screen. Okay. Yeah. And he's noticing there are, like, cookies on the table. And little crumbs. And this is making him feel something, I guess. And the cookies, they're like all crumbled up. So I guess like someone ate them, which I think is a really not nice thing to do to someone's cookies. And they're like leaving this trail. And he thinks it's weird, I guess. He's making these faces. Okay, so he's like following the cookie trail. Like it's going to lead him somewhere. Probably to like the culprit. Oh! Oh, it's me! I'm right there. I'm in the video. I was just laying there. That's really fun. That's really fun. I had the cookies all along. Oh, wow. Oh, that was fun. That was really cool. Okay, well, yeah. I guess that's it. Well then, yeah, goodbye.